along with Corona. We'll have a beer garden for all you guys that need a cold one. We're going to have a beer garden there. We've got Everlast out there with their booth, City of Oakland, Oracle Arena, ourselves. It's going to be a real festive celebration event within event to get ready for the main event on Saturday night. HBO will have a booth also, and all of this will lead into the live weigh-in, which will be at the same place starting at 2:30, and where we'll have Molina, DeMarco, and Ward and Dawson weighing in at City Center. We expect 3,000 to 4,000, 5,000 fans to attend this fan fest. Anyway, any other questions you need from media, whatever, obviously Kelly's your go-to person. Andy Olson is handling credentials, and I'm going to turn it over to John to say a few words, and I'll have Chad say something, and then I'll leave you guys together with them. John?
Okay, hello. I'm just obviously excited to be here. This is a huge fight for me, and it's a huge fight for boxing, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'm excited for Chad. I know how bad he wants this. I know how bad he wants that recognition that this fight is going to bring, and I'm just proud to be a part of helping him get to his goal.
Thank you, John. Chad?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody involved with the fight. You, Dan Goosen, Gary Shaw, my promoter, and HBO for putting such a push behind this fight. The HBO 27 was great. I think it gave me and Andre Ward a lot of exposure, and people liked it. So, like I said, I'm excited to be in this position I'm in. I'm excited about the fight, and everything's been going great. And I'm looking forward to the 8th.
Thank you very much. Hey, Kelly, I'm going to throw it back to you. You handle it with with getting the media up there, and okay. I'll be back when Andre gets on, okay?
Thank you so much, Dan.
Okay, take care.
Okay, Krista, let's go ahead and open it up for media questions.
Great. If you would like to ask a question or have a comment, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad.
Your hand is raised. Please ask your question when prompted. Press the pound sign to lower your hand.
Comment. Please press star 1 on your telephone keypad now. We'll just give that a minute to queue up. All right, and our first question is from Robert Morales from the Los Angeles Daily News.
Hey, Chad, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Good, thanks. Chad, I was just curious. You've already been light heavyweight champion, obviously, so you've already tasted that, world championship stuff. But how much would a victory over Andre Ward mean to you, or rank in your career, especially since you're having to come down in weight to get it, which we all know is very difficult in this game?
The weight problem was not difficult at all. My weight is good. I'm ready to hit the scale at 168 pounds. A victory over Andre Ward would mean a lot for my career. We're talking about somebody who's very, very high on the pound-for-pound list, and somebody who has a lot of recognition. He won a gold medal in the Olympics, and it doesn't. When you look at his resume, it doesn't really get any bigger than that. Especially winning the gold medal for the United States. So I'm looking forward to the fight and going out there, and proving everybody wrong. People are so wrapped up about the fact that I'm moving down to 168 pounds when it's only a 7-pound, weight difference. But I'll make the weight comfortably, and I'll be ready to fight on the 8th.
All right, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Yep, thank you.
All right, our next question is from Dan Raphael from ESPN.
Hey, Chad, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good. Chad, listen, my question for you, a little bit what Robert was saying about the 168. Myself, a lot of people make a big deal about you coming down in weight for this fight. First of all, you said it's been going okay for you. My question for you, though, is whatever happens in this fight, let's say you win the super middleweight world championship. Now you're super middleweight champ. You're still light heavyweight champion. Is this like a one and done for you? And you go back to light heavyweight and just have said, I accomplished my goal, I won the super middleweight title? Or do you think you could continue to make 168 if the right fight presented itself in this weight class?
I definitely think I can continue to make 168. I'm like you said, I kind of got the best of both worlds if I go down. If you know, if everything works according to plan and I win the title, and you know, I'm looking for big fights at either weight class. I think 168 is a lot more loaded than the light heavyweight division is, and I also do think that those guys at 168, including Andre Ward, will be coming up to light heavyweight real soon. So, like I said, I'm in a great position. You know, I could go back to light heavyweight and wait for those guys, or I could stay at 168 pounds and contend against the Kesslers and the Botches and others. I think it's a great position to be in.
How much of a difference has it been for you then in this training camp? And maybe John could address this also, for you to, you know, drop that extra 7 pounds compared to what you would normally do to make 175 in a normal training camp to defend the light heavyweight title or to fight, you know, in a light heavyweight fight. Has it been much different, or is it just, you know, diet a little bit more, run a little bit more? What's been the biggest difference? And you made 168 for so many years anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this diet, a lot of people don't understand. You know, I come into training camp at 178, 180 pounds. You know, I came into camp, this camp, I got in, I was 180 pounds. So it was like I told everybody before, it's not hard for me to make the weight. I put another extra mile on my runs. You know, I'm dieting, and that's something that I haven't done in years, and that's diet. You know, when I was fighting at light heavyweight, you know, I was able to eat what I wanted and still go into the weigh-in and make the weight. So this camp, you know, it was great. You know, it just made me a little meaner, the fact that I can't eat what I want and I have to diet. So, you know, I'll be ready for the weigh-in. I'll jump on the scale at 167, probably 168 pounds. You know, and I'll prove everybody wrong. The people who think that I'm not going to be able to make the weight, that I'll be drained and dehydrated, that's not the case at all.
Hey, John, could you address that from your point of view as the trainer? Has there been any difference in his energy level, or do you notice any particular problems or things when it comes to him trying to make this weight?
No, like you say, and I didn't even actually know this because Axel takes care of all his his cooking and food and everything. So in the other training camps, I didn't monitor the food at all. So I kind of assumed that he was just dieting and eating the proper foods. And then for this fight, I said, hey, you sure we're going to make 68? And he said, listen, all he's got to do is start eating good. And I didn't realize that before when we fought Hopkins. I mean, he beat out Hopkins on a diet that I wouldn't have chosen, you know what I mean? So now with eating the proper food, and after discussing it with Axel, it appears that it's not going to be a problem at all. And I think, I've read a lot of blogs, and people are really, focused on this weight thing, but I think it's misguided direction of energy because it just doesn't seem to be an issue.
I think it's just an unusual thing that you see a prime champion like Chad to drop weight to make a fight where normally it's the other champion, it wouldn't be Ward, to move up. And maybe, Chad, you could just address this also. Some people say Ward insisted on 168. Others say, catch weight, no problem. There's been back and forth. But what in your side of the story as to how it came to be that you're making 168 as opposed to either defending your title at 175 or defending your title at some weight above 168?
I mean, what the thing is, it doesn't really matter what the agreement was. When I announced that I wanted to fight Andre Ward on HBO, I said 168, we could do a catch weight, or we could do 175. That's what I said. And they said 168. So I mean, I'm not the type of person who's going to go back and forth. I told my promoter, Gary, she'll make the fight. I'll do 168, and I'll go to Oakland. So I gave him every advantage. And I think that credits my abilities and what I know I'm capable of, and what I know I can do in the ring. I don't care that the fight's in Oakland. I don't care that it's 168 pounds, because I know I'll be comfortable and everything's going to go my way.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. I will see you in Oakland. I look forward to this one.
All right, thank you.
All right, our next question is coming from Alexis Terrazas from San Francisco Examiner.
Hey, Chad, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. The odds makers right now have you as the underdog, and that's a position that you always haven't been, you always haven't been in. But, what do you think why do you think that is? And does that give you, do you take offense to that? Does that give you any extra motivation for you and your team?
No, I don't take offense to it at all. People are entitled to their own opinion. All I can say is that they're making the wrong bet. My training camp has been great. I'm not worried about being an underdog. Like you said, I've never been in this position before. It's about time that I am in that position. It's going to give me fuel and it's gonna make me a better fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your last two bouts were against the guy in Hopkins that really difficult style, effective for him, but not necessarily crowd pleasing. Andre kind of has that type of style, effective, difficult, not really crowd pleasing. How will that experience from those two fights? How will that help you? On September 8th.
When I fought Bernard the second time, like you said, he's so tricky and so crafty in the ring. And he's very smart when it comes to that. And I would just, I did what I had to do to win the fight. But at the end of the fight, I knew I could have done more. So the fact that I've been in the ring with Bernard for 14 rounds, I think it says a lot about me and how I can deal with different styles. I fought everybody from Tarver to Glenn Johnson, Bernard, Thomas Adamek, and those are all three different styles. So when they say that, Andre Ward can adapt to any style, I'm the same way. I can adapt to any style, and I can figure out how to beat any style. I'm a very intelligent fighter when I'm in the ring, and come the 8th, everybody's going to see that, and they're going to realize that I am a better fighter than Andre Ward.
And last question here, we all saw the 24/7, Chad, and you're a quiet guy. You like to do your talking inside the ring. But how is this training camp leading up to this fight different? I mean, are you used to these cameras being all around your family and in the gym? Is that any different, or are you just kind of taking it in stride, maybe pretending they're not even there? How's that going for you?
I just pretend that they're not there. It's something that they had to do. HBO wanted to be able to get inside and show the fans and the boxing audience, how we live outside of the gym and how we do train. So, it just comes with the territory, and at the end of the day, you have to get used to it. So I think it was good that they showcased me and Andre Ward's lifestyle and our families and everything. And, it was a great look, people loved it. So, it was great. There was no problem at all.
You look like you got a pretty good fastball there pitching to your son. But anyways,
thank you.
Good luck on the 8th, man. To you and your team, John Scully and all that.
Thank you.
All right, our next question from Jason Gonzalez from MaxBoxing.com.
Hello, hi. What's up, Chad? What's up, John? How you guys doing?
Hey, buddy. Doing good.
Cool. Chad, I already got John's take on this matter. I want to get yours. Considering you have a victory over Bernard Hopkins in the boxing calendar year of 2012, would a victory over Andre Ward make you the fighter of the year?
I don't know. I don't worry about those things. Honestly, I don't know. I don't really care. My whole focus is getting this victory. If they want to make me fighter of the year, I'll be glad to accept it, but right now that's not even on my mind.
Okay. Now the second question: Do you buy into the hype that Andre's a dirty fighter with the headbutting and the elbows on the inside of the clinches and whatnot?
No, because I've never been in the ring with him, so I don't know. I can't buy into something that I never experienced. So I've watched his tapes and I've been studying him. So, but I can't say that he's a dirty fighter. I have to judge that when I get in the ring with him on the 8th.
All right, and our next question is from Bob Vellin from USA Today.
Hey, Chad, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Not too bad. One of the questions I had was kind of asked, but I want maybe put it a different way. Do you feel that being on 24/7 gives people a different idea of who Chad Dawson is? More of a family man than maybe what people thought, or do you, has that been a help for you?
I've always considered myself to be a family man. I thought people saw that too. My family's at every fight. My family comes first before anything. At the end of the day, my job is to raise my kids and be a good husband, and that's what I try to do. I try to live my life like that, and only good things come to people who live their life like that. So that's what I try to do. I try to show my kids right from wrong, and just be there for them at any time. So whatever the people got out of the 24/7 is great, because when I watched it, it made me see that even though I already know that, but family is definitely more important than anything else. So I mean, I love my family, I love my wife, I love my kids. So I mean, that's just how I am. It's just me.
You both have styles of, you know, not necessarily wanting to go toe to toe with somebody, but you know, avoiding punches. Do you see any way that this fight could turn into a slugfest, a toe to toe battle?
I mean, you got to look at the fact that you got two young guys with a lot on the table and a lot to lose and a lot to gain. So, I mean, I think that this fight is going to eventually turn into that. You know, as the rounds go on, you know, you're gonna have two guys pushing and two guys that are determined. So I definitely think that the fight can turn into that type of fight, the fight that people want to see.
Do you feel that Andre has the power to hurt you if he connects?
I don't know, because anything can happen in boxing. I mean, I seen the guys with the least punching power hurt guys. So, I mean, I'm not even thinking about that. My whole thing is just going in there and winning this fight and doing it in a great fashion and giving the crowd a great fight.
All right. Thanks, Chad. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, and our next question is coming from Lem Satterfield from TheRing.com.
Hey, how you doing, Chad?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm blessed. I'm doing well. And John, are you there?
Yes, sir.
John, you and I discussed this a while ago, and Chad just kind of mentioned it with Bob, that, you know, there is a lot on the line for these guys, and for the first time in a while, you have two guys who are considered the best in their division, and they've already, not just based on their talent, but their pedigree and who they've beaten along the way. So given that, would it matter to you? I mean, how much does it matter to Chad and to you to have that, potentially that Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns type of battle? Or would it still be an acceptable achievement to have sort of like a Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, the first fight that they had, which wasn't necessarily a dog fight, but you recognize the skill and ability of the fighters?
I mean, for me, as a trainer especially, the whole thing is winning. Above all else, above the crowd, above the legacy, above everything, winning is the most important thing, and that's how we have to approach the fight. I do think that Chad has the ability and the potential to open up more and be more exciting, and I think I honestly have the feeling that Andre is going to bring that out of him, and a lot of people. And I'm surprised at this after seeing Chad in the first Glenn Johnson fight, the way he responded like a warrior. I think a lot of people think that that's like a weakness with him. Like, I think they think, oh, because I read where people have said, oh, man, Andre's going to get inside and he's going to do this and that. And I actually think, and he can tell you better, but I think Chad wants him to come like that. I think Chad welcomes him making it a good fight. I think the better the fight is, the more Chad is going to like it, because it's going to draw out all the things that he has in him. Because the fact of the matter is, and I know this from knowing Chad since he was a kid, I mean, there is so much talent and power and explosiveness that the fact is he's never shown, he hasn't had to show, because he's won the majority of his fights so easily. So I think it could very well turn into the fight people want to see, and I think, contrary to the belief of some people, I think it's going to favor Chad if it turns into that kind of fight.
Chad, do you have any reaction to what I just said?
No, I mean, look, I'm just looking for a great fight. I mean, I know that Andre Ward is a great fighter, and like Scully said, this is the fight I wanted because I know what type of fighters it takes to bring the best out of me. Andre Ward has got pedigree of a fighter. You know, he can bring that out of me. And I'm pretty sure that he knows that I got the same thing in me to bring the best out of him. So that's why I say everybody that's down in the fight saying that it's going to be a boring fight, you know, you can't say that, because, you know, you got two guys that are on top of the game, two guys in their prime, and you got two guys that are the best in their divisions, you know, and we're really fighting for something. It's not like we're fighting for nothing. We're fighting for something. And what we're fighting for is something big. So like I said, I do believe that this is going to be a very exciting fight.
Hey, one more last question for you. One of the fights that I look at in your career, some people don't give you as much credit for beating the Tarvers and the Johnsons because they were older fighters, and even Bernard. But the Adamek fight was at a time where both of you guys were undefeated. I think you went down once, he went down, and he hadn't lost until he lost to Klitschko since then. How much of that fight do you look at as making you the fighter that you are now? And do you think you deserve more credit for that win than maybe you have gotten?
I think I've got the credit for that fight. I think people know what I can do. They just haven't seen it. But when they see that Chad Dawson again, which is going to be on the 8th, I think that people will start giving me my credit.
What is that Chad Dawson? Can you go back to that fight and kind of put you went down in that fight and you had to come back. What questions do you feel you answered then that you will bring back on September 8th? Can you talk a little bit about it?
That I'm a warrior. That I've been in the ring 33 times. I've been hit, I've been hurt, I've been down, and I've gotten back up. So, and that's going to always be my style of fighting. So, whenever I get hurt, the first thing that pops in my head is to come back. I come back meaner and I come back tougher. So, that's just me. That's the fighter I'm going to try to continue to be.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good luck on September 8th.
Thank you.
All right, and our next question is coming from Richard Diozio from the Fresno Examiner.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call. Initially, this question can be geared toward John and how you're preparing Chad for this fight. Obviously, we talked about the weight cutting, and two of you don't think that's going to be an issue. Now, taking a look at what it's going to be like in the ring, how do you think the fight's going to play out initially, right from, let's say, rounds 1 through 4? Is that going to be a feeling out process of determining what kind of fight Andre Ward's going to bring to the table, or do you think Chad's going to be able to impose his will early, whatever your strategy is going to be, and if you can shed some light into the strategy?
Without going too much into detail, I'll say this as a basic overview that's always in play with Chad. I've always said that I feel Chad is in the Mayweather, Roy Jones type of realm where more often than not, the opponent is going to have to deal with Chad more than he's going to have to deal with them. He has certain things that he was born with, certain things, just a mentality that he has and his approach to the fight that forces people to have to adjust to him. His height obviously is one of those things that just can't be avoided. You have to adjust. So I think more than all of Andre's recent opponents, I think we're going to be able to implement our style because, like I say, without giving too much away, I've watched all of Andre's fights, and I don't feel that any of his opponents, as good as they were, they weren't able to establish their own game plan. They had to adjust to Andre, and I felt that some of that was because of their physical limitations that Chad obviously doesn't have. So I think, put it this way, I think going into this fight, Andre, when they went looking for sparring partners, they probably had a tough time finding someone that could bring to the table what Chad is going to bring to the table.
Yeah, and Chad, just to follow up on that, how do you think how do you think you're going to come out and answer the opening bell for that fight on September 8th?
Just going out, and bringing energy. Just bring energy. I just want to be more active and just bring a lot of energy to the fight, and oppose my will.
Very good. Thank you, guys. We'll see you then.
All right. Again, that's *1 if you'd like to ask a question. Okay. Let's see. Our next question is coming from Robert Huff from FightNews.com.
Hello? Yeah.
Hi, a couple of questions for Chad Dawson. I've done a good bit of work with Andre Ward over the years, interviewing him and Virgil Hunter, and Virgil's made what might be a subtle point in that, as people have noted, Mr. Ward can fight in a variety of styles, which poses perhaps challenges in the ring, but also, from Hunter's perspective, challenges in preparing, because it's, to his eyes, difficult to get, the good sparring partners who can replicate what he can do. Can you talk some about how you're preparing for that? If it's a matter of sparring both with guys who've got that big, strong inside game and can do more of the sharpshooting style, or doing some of each, or what's your approach in sparring on that front?
First of all, we've had great sparring. I think the sparring that we had is better than what a lot better than what we expected. So on that note, everything is great. I'm not worried about finding guys to emulate them too much, because we got guys that emulate them very well. So I'm just prepared. I'm ready to go, and I'll be ready on the 8th.
And a quick follow-up. I talked to you briefly in Sacramento, California in 2007. Gary Shaw was nice enough to bring you over to press row, and you were super gracious. And Gary said, Chad doesn't travel with a posse, he travels with his family. And you talked on 24/7 some that, by the time Pascal fight came around, there were 30 people around you and your entourage, and, they all disappeared after that fight didn't go your way. Can you talk some about how things got from that point in sort of 07, when it was you and your family, to you and 30 people around you?
Yeah, but when I said that, I wasn't talking about, at the fight, me walking around with 30 people. After the fight, when I got back home to New Haven. I didn't travel with those guys. When I came home, I was embraced by, 30 guys that I hung around with, that I would go out with. We would always be together. So, and to touch on that, I think every fighter goes through that type of situation. When you up, everybody wants to be around and be there and hold your coattail. But when you're down, nobody really knows what to say to you, or nobody's there to pick you up and tell you, look, Chad, man, it's okay, you'll bounce back. So after I lost to Pascal, when I got home, it was literally, maybe a handful of people that, said, yo, it's okay. We know you'll bounce back, but everybody else, they just disappeared. So, no phone calls, no nothing. And that just put my mind in a different place. I'm a different person from that. I learned who my real friends are, who my real friends aren't. So, like I said, I think every fighter or anybody who's ever, been at the level I was at, has been through that. So, from the Michael Jordans to the Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, I'm pretty sure that, they all experienced it.
Are you a Celtics fan?
No, Miami Heat fan.
Well, Ward likes the Lakers, so you might have something to talk about. But what I got from what you said in the 24/7, it seems like, between fights you have sort of gotten away from having 25, 30 people around. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten away from that. If you see me after the fights now, I'm in the house with my family, bringing my kids to school every morning, picking them up, making sure that my kids and my wife are straight. That's my whole thing. That's how I live my life now.
All right, and our next question is coming from Colin Seymour from theexaminer.com.
Hi, this is Colin Seymour. I'm glad to meet you, Chad. I'm in California. When you were out here in California, you were treated a little bit inhospitably. It seemed to me that Virgil Hunter was really trying to get under your skin, and he's very good at that. Did he succeed in any way?
He failed with a big F. Yeah, he got an F for that. But I've been in the ring with Bernard, and I've been in press conference with Bernard. I've been in press conference with Tarver. I've experienced all that. And those guys didn't get under my skin, so I don't know what made him think he would get under my skin. But I'm fine, and like I said, he flunked that test.
It's got to be tough coming out to, Andre Ward's hometown, and he's got thousands of people flocking around him. You were talking about the people who are actually around you, but what about the people that are just your fan base? Who are they, and how much can this fight do to expand your fan base?
I mean, it could do a lot. I don't know what type of a crowd I'll have out there in Oakland, but I wouldn't care if I had one fan in the audience. As long as my family and my closest friends are there, it doesn't matter to me. So I mean, everything is great.
We're looking forward to seeing you out here next week. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that was Chad's last question, so we are going to thank the champion, the WBC and Ring Magazine Light Heavyweight World Champion, for joining us, along with his trainer, John Scully.
Please ask your question now. Mute on.
Looking forward to a great fight, and Dan Goosen has returned to the line, and I'm going to turn it over to him while we await. I believe that Andre and Virgil might have joined us already. We're just waiting confirmation. Okay, he's on, and so is Virgil. So, Dan, can you take it from here? Thanks, Chad and John. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad and John. Talk to you later. We've got Virgil and Andre on?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, great. Andre, it's great to have you out here. Virg, we won't keep you guys long. Let's open it up with Virgil to say a few words, and we'll have you say something, Andre, and then we'll get to the Q&A. Virg, how's everything going in training?
Everything's going great, Dan. The camp is going well. We're winding down the last week. Very pleased with where we're at and what we need to do. We're very in sync on what we need to do and very in tune on what's lying ahead. So in that respect, I couldn't be more happy. Glad the fight is getting close. All the heavy work is pretty much out of the way. And we're just looking forward to a big evening in Oakland, California.
And you mentioned a big evening in Oakland, California. I mean, it's amazing out there, and I kind of touched on it at the beginning with the press at the beginning of this call. And we've got tremendous sponsors out there. We've got 95.7 The Game. That's one of the hottest sports talks shows out there in the Bay Area right now that are a sponsor, along with the City of Oakland, Oakland Tribune. We've got Azad Watches. We've got Corona. I mean, just a lot of support out there, Everlast, and I think it just shows the importance and the bigness of this fight, and how the city of Oakland and the Bay Area in itself are embracing it and looking at this as their Super Bowl. Andre, why don't you say a few words on how training's going, everything else, and then we'll throw it to the media.
Not really much to say. Obviously, we've been having our head down. We've been working. Lost track of how long camp has been going on and how much time we got left. I'm just focused on putting in the work every single day. Like Bird said, everything is going according to schedule. And the other side, they've been doing a lot of talking. And that's fine. We've been quiet. We've just been working. And we just, as always, we want to talk the loudest come fight night, September 8th.
All right, thanks, Andre. Hey, Kelly, why don't you open it up to the media, and let's get some questions going.
Okay, operator, go ahead and open it up, and we will take questions for Andre and Virgil at this time.
All right, if you would like to ask a question or comment,
your hand is raised. Please ask your question when prompted. Press the pound sign to lower your hand.
In the order it was received. Again, if you would like to ask a question or have a comment, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad now. We'll just wait for that to queue up. All right. Our first question is coming from Lem Satterfield from thering.com.
Hey, how you guys doing? You there?
Yeah, great, Lem.
Good. Hey, Andre, I asked this of Chad also. And also Virgil. This fight is obviously between two of the best in the sport. And, I've been, talking to people about it and different fans, and I see it as going either one way, two ways. It can be a Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins type of fight where you have two two really highly skilled guys kind of sitting back and measuring each other, or you can have a Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns type of fight because you have two great athletes who obviously have built up a great pedigree, not just on their talent, but they've shown it in the ring. Virgil, what kind of fight do you see happening? Andre, what kind of fight do you see happening in all the possibilities?
Well, first of all, the fight in itself is going to be exciting. I think you have two determined athletes. There's a lot at stake. I'm sure they're very much aware of some of the criticism and the critiques that have come that way, where it's amazing to me where people can predetermine the outcome of a fight or even speak in negative tones of what they think. It's unfortunate today that the purist has been pushed aside for what is deemed in my eyes as we no longer teach the art of boxing anymore. And we just put some gloves on people and we just point them in the middle of the ring and say, go, and swing, and keep swinging. And keep your hands down and get hit in the head anytime you want. You can't help. It's always going to be a certain, to me, a division of fans who are going to appreciate what boxing is truly all about. And it's also going to be those fans who really don't understand boxing and can't get a grasp of what this sport truly is unless they see something that they consider much exciting today in terms of, 100 headshots landed within 5 rounds and bloody nose and busted eyes and things like that. But it is what it is. But I expect a great fight. And I know coming from our end, Andre Ward is not a boring fighter. I mean, when you dominate, it can appear boring. But when you talk about action, he's an action fighter without a doubt.
Andre, do you have anything to add to that?
You know what, Lynn, my mindset, man, is I'm on a one-track mission, and that's to get my hand raised. And I think if you really watch my fights, I do a little bit of everything in my fights. I think the knock is that, like Verge said, if you don't take a certain amount of punishment, then, people who are really not, I don't want to say ignorant of the sport, but people who like a certain type of fight, if you don't take a lot of punishment or it doesn't seem like you get hit that often, you're reluctant or you get tagged as being born. Well, the guys that make it in the sport, the greats, the guys that can still walk and talk when their careers are over and still live their lives, like Sugar Ray Leonard and guys like Floyd Mayweather, Bernard Hopkins. Those guys, obviously they took shots there in the sport of boxing. Those guys are masters, and I've always been trained to be a master, and that's what I'm going to continue trained to become, is a master of the sport where, even though no fight is easy, where, you make it look a certain way. So I'm really oblivious to what people are saying, how they feel about the fight. I think it's a great matchup. I think the matchup and the credentials speak for themselves, but I'm locked in on getting my hand raised.
I'll bring in, you brought something up that's interesting, is the fact that even though there's been fights like the Froch fight and the Kessler fight where observers thought it was going to be potentially some of that blood and guts, and when you came into the Super 6, people thought maybe you were going to be exposed to someone who couldn't take this or that. What is it about your ability, Virgil, both of you, that has allowed you to neutralize other fighters and kind of mute their attack as opposed to what people thought they were going to see?
Well, it's tough to say. I mean, at the end of the day, we put in our work, we study, we do all the things we're supposed to do, and then from there, it's just, the desire to win and the desire to come out on top. And, like I said before, none of those fights were easy, but we found a way to get it done, and I think, that's the mark of a potentially great fighter.
Virgil?
Just plain and simple, Andre Ward knows how to fight. And it's like in any other sport. When you know your craft, and someone's on the receiving end of that craft, then it's made to look easy. Look, it's a lot of times we could say that these two guys had a tremendous amount of heart because, they went in the middle of the ring and they dug their feet in the canvas and they went toe to toe. I in particular think that's an out and it's a margin of error. Let me tell you something, man. Any fighter, if you gave him a choice, if you gave him opportunity, if I had a magic wand and I said I could poof you here and you could go into a fight and you won't take no punishment, or I could poof you here, you can go into a fight and you'll give some of the greatest toe-to-toe fights in history, I guarantee you he's going to take the one where he's taking no punishment. It comes down to ability, it comes down to talent, it comes down to understanding the art and the craft of boxing. So when you see two guys going toe-to-toe, 9 times out of 10, if you look at all their fights, these fights suggest this because there's limitations somewhere. They were learned, they were taught how to fight in such a way that they missed a lot of things that the craft, that the game offers in terms of developing craft. So I can't be fooled. Every single person who looks for this fight, if they had a son that chose boxing and they had an opportunity to have a coach that would teach their son how to hit, not to get hit, they're going to take that coach before they take one and say, well, I'll take your son and he'll give just as much as he takes. They're going to take that coach and say, I can have your son hit and not get hit. So to me, that's excitement in boxing, mastering that craft. So, again, I say it's limitations on the other fighter. Even when you look at Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns, you saw strategy in that fight. Now, when they got older and they lost some of their physical ability and attributes, and the second fight was a little bit more action-packed. They didn't, lesser athletic ability, they were a little older. But that first fight, that was a very strategic fight. It was not what you would call a slam-bam, drag you to the mud type fight.
Thank you, guys. Look forward to September 8th.
Thanks, Leo.
All right.
Thank you, Leo.
All right, our next question is from Alexis Terrazas from San Francisco Examiner.
Hey, Andre, how you doing today?
How are you?
Pretty good, man. You've always been a guy, maybe the best that I've seen, in action active today, that is, really effective at making the other guy adapt to you. In other words, you take them out of their game plan, and you do as such. But how will you do that against Dawson? A pure boxer, a guy who's a southpaw, and he's tall, and ultimately he's good. So how are you going to make him bend to your will, so to speak?
Well, I had 12 rounds, number one, and really the foundation is what it's been for every single fight. That's getting myself in tip-top shape. My mind is right. I'm ready for war, and we have a game plan. And whatever adjustments need to be made along the way, they'll be made. I mean, I can't give you, this blueprint on how it's going to get done, but the idea is for it to get done regardless of how it gets done. So, a lot of people are making a big deal about Chad's height and reach, and that's a given. He's got the height and reach advantage, but you got to look at it from my standpoint, from the athlete standpoint. I'm not enamored with that. I'm not spooked by a height and a reach deficit. I'm coming to get a job done September 8th, and it's no different than any other fight that I've been in, whether it's Abraham, who's short and squatty and explosive, Paul Fitch, who's strong, long, and wiry. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to find a way. And I've always said that, and September 8th, will be no different.
Is it going to be like a mixture, though, of maybe fighting on the inside and maybe staying outside, or are you going to try to infuse that kind of game plan?
So once again, I can't give you a blueprint, on exactly what's going to happen. This is a fight. So, we knew exactly how it was going to happen. That'd be great, but you don't know. So, but again, if you watch my fights and if you're familiar with my fights, that's what we do. We show what we have to show, whether it's the inside, outside. The key is not to be one-dimensional. So I think you're accurate when you say that.
Okay. And what concerns you most about fighting Chad? And I guess fighting at home. Fighting at home usually is kind of chalked up as an advantage, but not always. So what's your concerns about Chad Dawson and Oakland?
I really don't have any concerns. I mean, I respect my opponent. I understand who I'm fighting. I've watched Chad for years. Obviously, I've honed in on him, a little bit more as of late, since this fight has been signed and whatnot. But I don't know if concern is the right word. We respect the other side. They seem to be doing some good work over there. And, there should be no excuses when this fight is over. I'm looking forward to a tremendous fight. Once again, I got another, great competitor on the other end of the ring. But, I plan on getting my hand raised. I mean, I've sacrificed a lot to get to this point, and I still feel like it's time. And that's kind of what it boils down to. Once again, from the athlete standpoint, I don't get caught up in a lot of the things that are out there. I'm a one-track mind. I've been in training camp for a long time. I've been preparing for this fight for a long time. So some of the other things don't even come into my mind in terms of what I'm concerned about. As far as fighting at home, it's just like any other event. Obviously, it's different in terms of it being the home base. But I'm just looking forward to giving the fans a great show. My zone is going to be as if me and Chad Dawson are the only two people in that arena. That's how I approach these fights. And then when it's all said and done, I can show the fans my appreciation for coming out.
Right, and I'll let you go with this one, Andre. We all call it 24/7. This is the highest publicized fight of your career. How are you dealing with these cameras, man? And is it just any other fight, or is it maybe a little different getting used to those?
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, I think being in the Super 6 and the Showtime cameras and that tournament going on for as long as it did, I probably had more cameras and more responsibilities from that standpoint. We've been here before in terms of having the cameras. We still got to stay focused, get our work in. It's just, it's just being documented. And they were in and out. I think the show turned out to be great. And God willing, I look forward to being back on 24/7 real soon.
Excellent. You and his fan?
I am, yeah. I'm kind of a Bay Area fan, so I kind of represent both sides of the bridge.
Excellent. Well, you got best of luck on September 8th, Andre, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, our next question is coming from Dan Raphael from ESPN.
Hello, Andre and Virgil. How are you guys today?
How you doing, Dan?
Good. Andre, first off, one of the reasons I guess that you haven't fought since you won the Super 6 at the end of last year, part of the reason anyway, was because you had that hand injury that you had before the Froch fight. You gutted out the Froch fight, got the win, let the hand get better. I'm curious, how is the left hand?
My hand is fine. I've had zero hand problems, period, in this camp. Excuse me. In previous camps, I wrapped my own hands and did a pretty good job. But, I've taken the time to have someone, Robert Garcia, wrap my hands every day, and it's had a tremendous effect on my hands in terms of not having any injuries. But that specific injury is fine. I've had no problems.
Robert Garcia, you talking about Robert Garcia, who trains Donaire and some other top guys?
No.
Different guy.
Robert Garcia. Here in the Bay Area, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make sure I didn't get too confused there. Virgil, is he telling the truth? Have you noticed any problems?
No, there's absolutely no problems with the hand at all. It's strong. We did the proper things to rehabilitate it, the proper rest, the proper rehabilitation exercises. The hand has presented no problem at all.
Okay, that's good to hear. Also, Andre, I was wondering when we were talking with Chad a little while ago, he talked about the fact that he's coming down to 168 to fight you for your championship. Address the questions about, the ease or difficulties in which he might have of making that weight, said there was no problem. And, he basically said, I asked him, is this a one and done, come to 68, see what you can do, and then, whatever the outcome, go back and continue to defend the light heavyweight title. I wonder from your point of view, this fight has taken place in your weight division, 168, where you're the champion. But I wonder, do you think that in the future you can fight successfully at 175, or could you be a guy that could go back and forth between those weight divisions and more or less just sort of look for, if there's a big fight for you at 175, take that opportunity, or, stick around at 168 if some other big opportunity comes up?
Whenever the time comes, noise in the background. whenever the time comes, then I definitely want to go up and be a multi-divisional champion. Gonna be real careful about going back and forth. So I think sometimes guys get in trouble with that. You know, once I go up and build my body up to be a 175-pounder, I'll probably stay there, and I probably won't come back down.
So do you see yourself then having a few more good years left at 168, where there's still some good guys out there?
It's hard to say how long it is. I mean, when I came into the professional ranks and slowly made my way down to 160, it was kind of an abrupt decision. Verge and I were on the same page after I forgot what fight it was, and we were both on the same page, and we hadn't even talked. We just got on the phone one day and said, "Man, it's time to go up." So I think sometimes that's how it happens. I don't know, how many more fights, how many more years I have at 68, but I probably think going up in weight, I don't want to say it's going to come sooner than later, but I think it's around the corner.
Dan Goosen, are you on the phone?
I'm here.
Could you address that from your point of view as the promoter of about where you think you can have great success with Andre? Like he just mentioned, maybe staying at 168 for a while longer, maybe going at some point to 75, not wanting to go back and forth between the weight classes.
I've always been a true believer, Dan, that those are decisions with the fighters and his trainers, because Andre knows the sacrifices that he has to make a certain weight. And one of the things you don't want to do is give them any anchors around their neck to say you gotta weigh at 168 because that's the better division for his health, for his safety, for his pure ability to bring out the best in himself physically. It's wherever his weight lies. So those are decisions I leave in the hands of Andre and Virgil. They're the pros at that.
Thank you. Andre, one other question for you. I'm wondering, when you were presented with this fight as a possibility, and the discussion then became, okay, well, what weight class are we going to do this in? Because you're the champion at your weight division, he's the champion in his weight division. Some guys would have opted for a catch weight. Maybe so it's more common for the smaller guy to go up and challenge the bigger guy. It is a little more unusual for the bigger guy to come down a weight class. How was it that you wound up getting the fight in the weight class that you wanted it? Even though he said, as he talked about earlier, that when he was on the HBO interview after one of his fights, he did say that he would go to 168. But there's a difference between saying it to a camera and actually signing a contract.
I think first and foremost, he shouldn't have said it. I mean, that's the negotiating 101. He negotiated against himself when he said that. First of all, second of all, I personally never wanted demanded a weight. Now you have to understand that. The promoters, they talk, and I'm sure Dan and Gary, had initial discussions probably before, I don't know, but probably before Bernard Hopkins. So I'm not privy to every conversation. Dan brings back what he needs to bring back, but in terms of me demanding 170, that never happened. As far as I'm concerned, when I sat on my couch and I heard him say what he said, the fight was signed, sealed, and delivered at that weight. And it was never brought to me in terms of what weight do you want it to be at. It was a foregone conclusion.
So
for him to say that on national television and then double back and say, "Oh, we wanted 170," that's the contradiction of what he said in the post-fight interview. Why would you say that and then try to go back and get a catch weight? It doesn't work. This is business.
Okay, Andre. So your point of view is that if this fight was going to be for your title, it was 168 maximum. If it was going to be for his title, it'd have been a 175 maximum. No in between catch weight stuff.
I didn't even get a chance to get that far. I wasn't ruling out a catch weight, and I didn't demand it to be at 68. I was presented something, and I accepted it, and that's as far as it went.
Okay, so the only thing you ever were given by your promoter was 168.
Absolutely.
Okay, which means that your promoter did a good job negotiating your fight, I guess. Congratulations.
So we're not going to apologize for that, no.
Exactly. All right, I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you, Andre. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, Virgil.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll move on to Colin Seymour from theexaminer.com.
Examiner.com. Hi, Andre. Hi, Virgil. Andre, you were talking about your respect for Dawson. Last week you mentioned that you don't really think that the Dawson people have that much respect for you. Can you elaborate on that? What it is they are not reckoning with?
Well, first of all, let me just clarify when I say I respect him. I mean, I'm realistic about what I'm coming up against. Sometimes guys,
for whatever reason, it's almost like they refuse to see the strengths of their opponent and what their opponent does well. And that's one thing we do in this camp is we give guys credit where credit is due. If they do something well or they do a combination of things well, we have to acknowledge it because that's what we're facing. We're not going to tear a guy down or, anything like that. I mean, if anything, we'll give them more credit than they deserve just so we prepare, mentally and physically the right way. But, what I alluded to in terms of his side and his team is, once you're around, the sport a long time, you can just be around a person for a short period of time, and you can tell if a guy is, intimidated, if a guy is respectful, he's confident, and I just don't think that they're really giving us much credit. I think they're giving us some superficial praise because they have to, but when they turn on the tape or whatever, the DVD or whatever they're watching, nothing jumps out at them, and that's fine because this is not the first time that I've had that unfortunately this way. I actually like it. I love for to not get the respect that I'm deserved prior to, because it just keeps you in the right frame of mind going into a fight, and you have that chip on your shoulder to prove otherwise.
It will be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Again, if you'd like to ask a question.
Kelly, why don't we have one or two more questions?
We have two more questions.
Okay. All right.
Operator, let's take the last two in the queue, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, let's go ahead with Eddie Goldman from No Holds Barred.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Andre, in this fight, we have a champion versus champion fight, and, we know the accomplishments and the records of both of you. Can you tell us what you think your advantages are, why you think you're going to win this fight?
I don't know. I think I kind of leave that for you guys to kind of talk about. I'm not going to, it's tough. Sometimes these questions, it's tough to give you one thing and say, I'm going to win because of this. I mean, I'm just a competitor. I'm in great shape, and whether it's Chad Dawson or whether it's somebody else, I hate to be mundane about my responses, but you gotta get the job done, and that's what we're prepared to do, whatever it takes to get the job done. I think the fans are going to see several dimensions come September 8th from me and my team, and I'm just looking forward to it. But it's hard to just give you one reason why I'm going to win. I'm just ready to go.
In the past, you've described yourself sort of as a chameleon who adapts his style to other fighters. Can you give us any hint what we can expect against Dawson? He's going to have a height advantage and southpaw and all that.
Well, I just think that where they've gauged me and where they have me in their minds, I just think it's going to be different. From the speed to the strength to the power. I mean, if you let them tell it, they got every advantage in the book, and that's just not a reality. He can have the height and the reach advantage. I'm not going to argue that, but when they say they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, I just think they're going to realize very quickly that's not the case.
And last thing, Virgil, could you explain why you think that Andre has the advantages in this fight?
I think he pretty much covered it all. I mean, and you can only go on feedback until the actual fight starts. But if you, again, as he says, to let the Dawson camp says, they have all the advantages. So I would say just in that sense itself, it gives us, we have an advantage in them having all the advantages. So I'll take that advantage. I'll take my advantage in you having all the advantages. And then we can smooth it out from then on. So, again, like you said, the height and the reach is a given, although the height is really in the length of his neck and not true height. It's the length of his neck. And, reach has never been a significant factor in boxing in my book and a lot of other books. It's distance and range. So, but he can have those. But I think if I had to say one advantage, it's our disadvantage. That's our advantage. being at a disadvantage in their eyes. And then I'll take that.
Okay, thanks. Good luck to everybody in the fight.
Thank you.
All right, and our last question is coming from Robert Huff from FightNews.com.
Good afternoon, and hello from Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. Looking around at Boxrec, Andre, I had seen that, by my math, this is going to be the longest layoff of your pro career, and I've wondered if, when you got into camp, and perhaps subsequent to that, you noticed anything different, being a little bit off the rhythm you had established in the years previous to that?
Yeah, things were horrible, man. I was rusty. My sparring partners were working me every day, and I was on the verge of canceling this fight, man. I cannot be off this long ever again.
Seriously?
Oh, my.
Did you feel any rust, or just a little bit different to get out of the rhythm you had established?
No, I felt fine. Everything is good. I think if you really look at it, I think with the knee injury, this may have been the longest layoff by a month or something like that. But I've had 6, 7, 8 month layoffs. They're not ideal, but they happen for various reasons. And just like in the ring, when I say you got to find a way to get it done. I mean, I have a responsibility as a fighter to live the sport, to live it out every day. And just because I'm off, it doesn't mean that I have to let my body go. It doesn't mean that I abuse my body and that I'm not focused on boxing. I mean, I literally think about this sport every day, whether, I have a layoff or not. And I just think those little things of just always having your mind on the sport. Obviously, I'm not training at a training camp level, but I'm always sharpening my tools. I try to keep my body at a certain level in terms of fitness, and just having, age on my side, I think is a big deal too. So we haven't noticed anything. There haven't been any problems, and this layoff is a non-issue. If anything, it's done me some good because I train really, really hard, and that takes a toll on the body. But then you also have the Super 6 and the toll that took. And, coming off of that, I think it was a good thing. I think it was a good thing, even though it wasn't ideal. I think it was good that I was able to get that rest, both mentally and physically.
Yeah, and we talked in Oakland after the Foch fight. Obviously, there was the hand, and you said you just sort of physically a little chewed up and worn down, and the mental side of it, and your fourth child coming along. Your oldest daughter on 24/7 was utterly hysterical, by the way. She's quite the young. I'm sorry?
I say, yeah, she stole the show.
Yeah, she's the star of that show, maybe. But you've always talked about how you have the laser focus on the fight that's right in front of you. But nonetheless, you've got this awareness of the fighters in or near your weight. After Foch, was Dawson pretty hard on your radar? Was it something that you and Virgil and Dan were talking about seriously? Did it come up as sort of a surprise? Is it an opportunity you looked at? Can you talk some about that?
Really, neither. I mean, he wasn't on my radar in terms of me gunning for him, and he wasn't somebody. It didn't come as a surprise, and I say that because anybody that's close or near to my weight class, there's a possibility we may get it on and we may fight someday. So Chad has always hovered around. He's always been at 75, or started at 68 and went to 75. He's always made comments, and I recognize those comments about how easy it was to make 168. So it was definitely inevitable one day that it was going to happen. But no, it was presented to me after the Super 6, after a couple months of rest, and some people said, why Chad Dawson? And we felt like, why not? He's a great fighter. Let's get it on, and let's let the best man win.
But by the way, he revealed that he's a Heat fan, so if you need any more animosity, there you go. So I'll wish you luck, and I'll follow it from afar. Thank you very much.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, Dan, do you want to make any closing comments? We are at the end of this call.
Well, I do want to thank Ken Hirschman, Mark Taffet, Kerry Davis of HBO. They've put a lot of marketing muscle into this event, and for good reason. They no slight to Chad Dawson, but Andre Ward is utilizing this event, this bout. Robert just asked a question here. I remember sitting after the Froch fight, Andre said to Butte, fight someone, okay? And, Andre's goal here as Virgil and James Prince and Antonio Leonard, it's about fighting the best out there. This is what boxing needs. This is what Ward thrives on. And this is what Andre Ward's done since he took on the challenge of the Super 6 when everyone thought we were crazy to do it. Chad Dawson's got a lot of good names on his resume. All it does is build up Andre Ward to that next level, that next step. And HBO recognizes that. Andre does, his camp does, we all do. And September 8th, we're looking forward to a great event. And one other thing I'm going to touch on that Virgil did and Andre did. One thing I've been saying about Andre, he's a fighter, okay? Whenever I hear anybody say anything about him not being a fighter not being exciting, he's very exciting because he fights. And he'll continue to fight because that's what he loves to do. It doesn't mean he sticks his chin out there, but he goes out there and takes control. Someone asked Chad Dawson a question today on this conference call about what are you going to do when that bell starts the fight. And he had some, vanilla answer, didn't really say anything. Well, I'll tell you what Andre Ward will do, and if Andre, if I'm incorrect here, you tell me, but he does what he always does. Right when that bell rings, he'll be out there fighting, taking control of that fight. Anyway, I do want to thank everyone for getting on. It's been a great promotion, not only locally in the Bay Area, but also throughout the United States. Andre, great job. Virgil, thank you again. Any questions with credentials? Kelly's got it all. Just go through her. And again, I thank you for getting on. Kelly?
Yep. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Virgil. Thanks, Dan. And again, we will be sending out a plethora of information, some follow-up releases, and the Fight Week schedule all coming to your email box very soon. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a nice day.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And use smaller words for us guys that aren't reporters, okay?
I was trying to impress Andre.
Oh, okay. All right, you guys. See you, Andre.
Bye-bye.